this episode of Mission Driven, John Henry interviews designer and entrepreneur Jason Mayden. Jason previously oversaw design, execution, and even data-driven innovation for Jordan Brand during his 13-plus years at Nike. This led Jason to work and cultivate products that impact sports performance for athletes such as Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, and even Michael Jordan. Jason is now the president of Fear of God Athletics. His level of discernment when it comes to design and innovation has inspired as well as informed many on what it means to truly be a designer and create change. This is Mission Driven.
How's it been in this new chapter, man? Just big life change for you. And by the way, this is a no bio zone. So what we'll do is we'll throw a bio up and so on. But like that just stems from, me doing a ton of interviews and people spending like 40 minutes on like, so tell me about your back. It's like, come on, man, it's out there, Yeah. So, but yeah, fill me in, bro. How's it been for you? This kind of transition. I bet you're at an exciting point in your life and career where, you must feel as equipped as you've ever felt, to affect change. You've been at the helm of a number of different projects now, in and out of your main industry. But for me, it's always stood out to me how you use, fashion and design and streetwear as a way to make a bigger statement. And so anyway, how do you feel now, like personally stepping into a new space with respects to like, knowing more than ever, being able to affect more change than ever, just walk me kind of through your mindset right now. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's several different things. First, I've abandoned the mindset that I have to be the only one that makes an impact. Because I think we put a disproportionate amount of pressure on ourselves as people of color to like fix everything all at once with every opportunity. And sometimes that means nothing gets done because you implode. Mm-hmm. So what I've done is strategically given myself grace to feel present in this moment, like you said, to feel qualified. Mm-hmm. I don't have imposter syndrome because I feel prepared. I've put in my 10,000 hours times 10. And more importantly, I feel a deep sense of gratitude, man, because I know just one generation ago, these types of opportunities were just fantasies for my family and people from my community. So I know that this isn't about me. I know that this is a series of decisions that was made by my ancestors before I was even considered. And I'm focused on what my progeny are going to talk about 2 generations from now. So it's less about what I'm doing and how I'm feeling and more about what I want to leave behind and how I want other people to feel about the work that I'm doing. It's less not, the product we make and the events we throw, those are amazing moments in time and they will be fun and unique and change the market. But more importantly, how do we represent a new possible self, a new outcome, a deviation from what people consider the outcome we should, unfortunately fall victim to. So that's what excites me, man, is staying in myself, staying in this forum, but also being present in environments where this is foreign and fully being the person that's dictating the energy in that environment. So That's all I'm obsessed with right now, man, is doing the right thing even when no one is looking,
I love that, man. And at this point, you're a master of trade, in that, would you say your superpower is design, like as a tactician and craftsman, or I guess help me unpack like the world that is the space that you've occupied and the different toolkits that you've developed over time and how kind of those play together.
Yeah, I would say honestly, my superpower is discernment. And the reason I say discernment is because people think design is the solution to everything. Actually, a designer's job is to ask better questions, not to provide answers, because the best questions lead to new outcomes. And so discernment and empathy and intersectionality between cultures, whether it's socioeconomics, whether it's race, whether it's, you know, art and tech, all these different things that seem diametrically opposed, for some reason, God has allowed me to be in the middle of it. I use discernment to translate what's valuable to the most amount of people. So design is the medium I use to translate, but sometimes it's storytelling, sometimes it's, you know, technology and tech development, but I try not to get anchored on the tool, because then you become limited by the tool. So I open the aperture and say, if I can have any gift, any superpower, is discernment. And that's really it.
Wow. You don't hear that kind of thinking too often. That's awesome, man. I've enjoyed just watching your journey unfold, and your energy vibrates even from afar, and I feel like it attracts, you know, the people that it is attracting into your life to to further express your vision. And so at the juncture where you are now, I mean, you can affect change, you have affected change. What does that look like to you now in this new um in this new level of understanding for you? And I know you touched on it earlier with respects to kind of changing what the typical outcome might be for yourself and your industry and so on. But if you can unpack that, that would be great.
Oh man, that's a great question, specifically coming from you, because when I see, you know, brothers and sisters like you, it gives me great hope, because when I got into this industry, you know, content, storytelling, product, it was pre-social media. I was 19 years old in 2001, and it was people in the room who would extract value from me and my nuances from coming from the South Side of Chicago, but then going talk about us like we were a separate species, and they had to dissect what we did, and they put us on mood boards. And it's like, yo, I'm a whole human being. Like, you could just ask me.
Right.
So I would say possible self means to see you, to see what you guys are doing, to see everything that you touch in your orbit. It's powerful, because none of you have to put on the world of acceptability. You can be unapologetically yourself. And I've taken a lot of losses because I refuse to code switch. I refuse to downplay, you know, the things that I've experienced in my life, because it robs other people of learning from my losses and learning from my pain. Because my pain is not for me, it's for the benefit of someone else to learn from it. And when I finally accepted that reality, that everything I experience can be beneficial to the next person if I'm open to sharing it, then it became more about, despite what people think of me, I have to accept me. I have to love me. I have to expect the best out of me. I'm not expecting anyone to believe in me more than I believe in myself. And maybe it's just a Chicago thing that we all have like a great high self esteem, but it's really hard not to love who you are growing up in a city that reminds you of the depth and richness and the diversity within the Black experience. Like, Chicago is richly steeped in the diversity of Black experience. It was founded by a Haitian, by a Black man who was a Haitian. Wow. Like, people don't pay attention to that. Like,
I didn't know that.
was a G. Yeah, DeSable came from Haiti, man, and founded Chicago. And when you realize all the people who flow through that city and the energy there, you feel a responsibility to extend that to the world and remind people that we don't need validation. We are great because we were sent here for a purpose. So that's what I mean by possibilities, man. So when my children look up, they can say, I want to be like John Henry. No disrespect to athletes and entertainers, but I want kids to look at the stuff y'all doing and find that as a new version, a new definition of greatness. Because creativity is my jump shot, you know, and I think we gotta add a new characteristic to what we call, you know, excellent. And I think entrepreneurship and being analytical and strategic, those are tremendous skill sets that can provide value for the rest of your life beyond what you do on the court or on the field of play. So that's what I mean, man. Like, making it unapologetically acceptable to be Black, intelligent, and charismatic. Like, you ain't got to choose.
Right. And how does that, so like when you're designing or storytelling or crafting a product on any platform, and it's under your creative direction, do you, like, I guess, literally think of that as you're making stuff and say like, yo, how can I push the mold in the way maybe that this garment looks, or that it feels, or is it the color palette way, so that someone could rock it. And I guess like the byproduct of the product itself, do you want it to stand out in a way that catches the people's attention, or that makes someone feel empowered, or like how does that mindset play out in the actual product?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, man. So when you're thinking about the nuances of, I would say, melanated culture, which is what I talk about when I say people of color, because Latinos, Blacks, Asians, we're melanated culture. So there's different things, there's different tastes, there's different, considerations culturally of what you put on your body. You can't wear certain colors in certain cultures because it signifies different things. You can't wear certain iconography. So for me, the best design is design that you don't know exists. And so I try to have my product recede to the background, and the person is the protagonist. They're the hero. The product is just an artifact of their heroism. So if you look at the psychology behind the Batman effect, which I use a lot for my research, which says that if a person wears the uniform of a superhero, specifically children, they aspire to the outcomes that are normally attributed to heroic outcomes. So being a better person, it's the equivalent non-scientifically of saying, I put on a Steph Curry jersey, I think I got a better jump shot.
Right.
Like a lot of people believe that. Like, you put on this product. So imagine a world where this still gray hoodie from Essentials of Fear of God, you put this on, you feel like it's about you. There's no giant logos. There's no story that's being told by the company. You're the story. You're the reason the product is great, because until you wear it, it's an inanimate object. And so my design style has always been that the person is the most important feature within the product. If they don't wear it, then it doesn't exist. If they don't use it, then it's not purposeful. I don't believe it's superfluous detailing in inanimate objects. I feel like anybody that decides to spend their money on my product, I owe them something more than what they expected to pay for. And I have great gratitude for anybody that's ever bought anything that I've done, because I know that they made a choice and that money could have went to something else. So I keep that in the back of my mind, that I have a responsibility to deliver value every time, not just one time, but every time something comes out, it needs to meet the expectations of what people have heard about me or have read about me or have seen from me. So, I just take the athlete mentality, man.
That's powerful, man. Especially because like when, especially because it's a stark juxtaposition from a lot of the legacy luxury brands, where I've always understood it, but I've never personally resonated with it. Like wearing Versace, Gucci. Like I fucks with those brands because they've done some things well. But for me, I never understood. It just didn't resonate with me to just like drape yourself in the, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I really am appreciating this shift in what seems to be like the cultural zeitgeist, where, designers such as yourselves and storytellers such as yourselves are putting people kind of at the center, and letting the brands take a back seat, which to me actually in a way sounds kind of scary from like a storyteller and a product person's perspective, because it's like, for sure your product's going to get out there when your shit's all over the place, right? And it takes a certain security and confidence actually to just like let the person, like you said, be the protagonist. So that to me jumps out, man. It's a very sophisticated and like future leaning way of looking at this kind of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of it, and I think this is a lot of why Jerry and I became really good friends first before we did any of this stuff, or anybody that's worked with me in my former companies. There's a certain characteristic when you're patient and you're consistent, and I think that's the most important piece, is that you're only able to get to that point of having people recognize your product when you're consistently delivering the same value. So I tell everybody the best analogy to use, you from New York, so baseball, you'll get it. Like, would you rather have a home run once, or would you rather have a lifetime 300 batting average?
Right.
Like, I'd rather take that 300 batting average than hitting the home run once, because that means I'm 10 out of 10 pitches, I got 3 hits. And I think that's, a lot of people are looking for that one hit and hoping to ride away from that one hit. But consistency, breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds brand loyalty. The thing now, everything changes so rapidly. What do you actually have that feels like it's normal and human? It's the stuff that you carry with you every day. So think about how much you carry in your pocket and how you would feel if every day you had to change your wallet, change your phone, change your key. You would feel completely unsettled. So having something that you can go back to, whether it's a product, service, or experience that gives you a sense of consistency, it breeds trust and it breeds loyalty. It's the same way I've dealt with relationships where designers have asked me, well, how do you get so close with athletes and entertainers? It's because I'm predictable. Their job is to de-risk who's in their inner circle. They can't have wild cards around them because that ruins their opportunity. So I'm predictable. I'm consistent. I do what I say. I follow through. And so I practice that in design. I practice that in my real life because it's the only way for people to know that you know, when the camera's off and no one's around, Jason's a guy that we can speak about at a high level. We know he's not going to embarrass us because he's consistent. So that's really what that is, man. It's restraint and it's discipline and consistency.
I love that. And even, you know, consistency rings loud for me, even in this conversation, because you've been consistently clear on the themes that, you know, have effectively played out in your career thus far. I'm curious. So if you were to, I guess, extrapolate outwards and look at your whole body of work, and the communities looking back on Jason Mayden's body of work, I guess what to you, right? Like if you were an observer in the room, just a fly on the wall, like what are the types of things that you would love to hear people say about your body of work?
Honestly, nothing. I would rather them talk about the amount of people I helped. That's more important to me than the work. The work is a reflection of a moment in time, and history has forgotten people that are way more talented than me. So if I make it about the work versus about the opportunities that I present or empower people to receive or catalyze for others, then I'm up against history. And I can't win against history, but I can win against the future because it's unwritten and the future exists within people, not in products. So that's what I'm focused on.
Wow, that's a bar. I can't win against history, but I could win against the future. Wow, that's powerful, man. I mean, it's powerful because to me, you know, it's just a clear, you're a brother that's taken your crafts and your talents and, um, you know, have become talented, but that comes with the hours. That's a given. You put hours in, you'll get more talented. And at this point, you're using your talent. It's almost like cost of entry. You're just like, cool, yeah, I'm good. But how can we make this be great? And your definition of great, um, is expansive because it's beyond just the work. It's expansive because it includes literal opportunities in others' lives, from who you tap probably for your projects, um, to the way that the garments and the work itself is expressed and received. And you know, I guess I wonder at this point, how are there any ways right now that are top of mind that you're considering to kind of push the mold on that expansive view of what it means to kind of let the talent take a back seat and spark opportunity for others?
Man, you know, I think a lot of it is I can't do it as much as I used to, but I try my best to provide like feedback and recommendations and introductions for people that I see that are in progress, that are striving. Like I can't motivate you to start. I don't believe in motivation. That falls apart after a while. Like you can be motivated to work out, and then a week later that falls apart because motivation is an emotion. Inspiration, that's something that's tapped into your soul. That's tapped into why you're here. So I try to lean into inspiring people who are in motion to stay in motion by simply showing up, and giving them the chance to be in a room with others, you know, that they don't expect to be in the room with. So for me, that happened. Like I was put at the table with Michael Jordan at 19, like straight out of Detroit, straight out of the South Side of Chicago, unprepared.
Wow.
Completely, you know, shocked that I even had this opportunity. And it gave me this sense of, okay, if they allow me at this table, maybe what I have to say really does matter. Maybe who I am is enough. Maybe I don't need to be anything else than just myself, and continuously work on what self means. And once I realized the power in just allowing people to be in a room and taking away the hierarchy by making it about work ethic, then that's what I try to do for others who are in motion. And that's what that looks like for me to expand it, is how can I create an opportunity that takes the underdog and allows him or her to show what they can do without having a title or without having a resume or the family name or the right school. I don't believe in all that, because technically I'm an anomaly, because I don't come from anything that looks like I should be doing what I'm doing like that. Right. I don't have that background that people expect. And so I know that backgrounds are just your starting point, but finish lines are what you decide they, for them to be. So I'm trying to help as many people focus on what they want their finish line to be versus being anchored in where their starting line is, because that's how they get us to be less aspirational, less effective, because we're stuck fighting generational trauma, and we're trying to carve out what tomorrow looks like. So I'm like, how do we heal in real time and get to building? And you build by telling people, you may not be ready, but I'm gonna throw you in the deep end and you'll get ready. I'm not gonna let you drown, but I'm not gonna swim for you. So that's what it looks like, man, throwing people in. Like one of my young mentees, he's at Apple right now, killing as an art director. I threw that dude into the deep end, like very early, and he swam. And
that's love. That's love. Yo, do
you just like, no bullshit, does it hit you at any point like, yo, damn, I'm actually in the position that I'm in? Like I ask that because it's our daily lives, and compounded over time, it just is what it is. And the other day I was just walking around, in my current situation, I was like, and I caught myself thinking like, yo, damn, I actually used to proactively like dream to be in this scenario that I'm in my life. Like that's do you get those moments, man, where you're just like, yo, damn, I can't believe it, just collectively the whole damn thing?
Man, probably, like, no cap, like once a day, like no lie. I'll just be in the kitchen talking to my wife, and I'm like, babe. She's like, what? Like, I really did it. She's like, what are you talking about? I work for Michael Jordan. Like, I really dead ass did it. Like, I did it, and I remind myself of that every day, because,
right.
And people know about the story. If they don't, I'll share quickly. Like, I almost died when I was 7. I was in a hospital at 7 years old. And while, most people are planning what they're going to wear for Easter, I'm thinking like, damn, okay, what would I wear? What would they dress me in my funeral? So my experience with time is very different. I appreciate the present, and I acknowledge like things that have happened in my life that are beautiful every day, to remind myself that beauty still exists. Because if we don't pat ourselves on the back and say, wow, man, this is such a blessing, look at what I've been able to accomplish, then we get anchored in the vastness of all the things that they tell us we can't do. So I got to remind myself what I have done, because that's future evidence of what I'll do next. And so every day I'm like, man, I can't believe it. I look around and look at the little artifacts I have in my office. I'm like, man, wow, this is crazy. Like, I for real, like, grew up and became the dude I want to be. Like, this is what, and lose sight of that. And the day I do lose sight of that, it'd be the moment I retire, because that means I don't love it as much. I don't appreciate it. And I can't do what I do without appreciating it. It just would not be, it would be the wrong outcome for me. It would just be about money, not impact. So nah, man, honestly, like, for real, every day I just bug out. Like, I cannot believe this. This is crazy.
Oh, that's love, man. And I mean, I think people are afraid to do that. I myself have struggled with that. But I think it must be a Chicago thing, man. Because if any, I would say actually Kanye taught me that through his music, actually, where it was just like, yo, it's and he did it to an extreme almost, and it's subject to criticism. But it took that extremity for the purity of that message to be received by a vessel such as myself and others, and whatever. And and to me, it is astonishing almost how, when you wear that, right, it exposes the culture of low self-esteem that is almost beat into you, where if you dare to feel great, or if you dare to feel destined, I feel destined, right? And just that sentiment alone, if it's expressed, it rubs people the wrong way. And when I started, I guess I started thinking about why it rubs people the wrong way, it could be the messenger, it could be the way that it's shared, but short of that, even if you express it in a nice way, a palatable way, right? People still are triggered by it. And I feel like there's a pretty deep like underlying sentiment of um I don't know, like it's unacceptable to feel that way. Why is it, that to me is bizarre. It has become socially unacceptable um
Yeah.
to feel like you are destined to do something great. That to me is indicative of a lot of other stuff, man.
I mean, I think it's honestly, we've conflated self-confidence with self-worth. And because of that conflation, people look at self-confidence the same way they look at arrogance. Now, sometimes it borders on arrogance, but when it's really self-worth and you say, look, I was sent here for a purpose, which everybody is, everybody's here and they have something they can do and can contribute to. When you accept that reality and then you go out and discover what that purpose is, but you're standing in opposition of is society's expectation that you'll conform and fall in line and just produce. It's like, do you want to produce or do you want to, accelerate? Do you want to grow? Do you want to create? Because production is not creation. And when you
Right.
create, it starts with a blank sheet of paper, and you have to imagine a world that didn't exist prior to putting pen to that paper. And from there, you start to produce outcomes, but we praise the end result. We don't praise the beginning, because before there, Kanye is Kanye and he's saying everything he's saying and people are, feeling the type of way about it. He's a kid sitting in his parents' house just imagining all of this. You know what I mean? And we get the pat on the back. Oh, baby, that's good. Oh, that's a good dream. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, good for you. But then when it happens, it's like, wait, hold on. How dare you actually achieve what you said you were going to achieve? How dare you? Because to your point, it exposes other people feeling like, well, I couldn't do it. How did you do it? Or I wasn't allowed to do it. And it's just how society is, man. We often look at people's successes as our loss. Like by someone gaining something, I had to lose something. I actually, man, and the reason I've been able to keep my relationships is because I get super hyped when I see people win. I play team sports. So if I see anybody like me winning, I'm like, okay, cool. That means I can do it too. It's motivation. Right. I don't care if they're older or younger. I get motivated and excited and inspired by anybody that's pushing it, because that just reminds me like, man, keep going, Jay. Your time is coming. Your ship is coming in. All the things you're in prayer for is going to happen. So I need examples in my life of people who are succeeding, because it reminds me that my dreams are possible. So it's just, we've turned into a culture of jealousy and hatred and objectification of the wrong things. We used to praise Nobel laureates. Now we praise people who just simply get online and expose themselves, like literally expose themselves as a way to get attention. And when that happens and you have that degradation of what it means to be successful or valuable, then you get the clout chasing and you get the people just doing anything just to be remembered versus being respected. And so that's all I'm up against, man. In my industry is, I don't want to play the popularity game. I'm simply just here to be respected, and I want to be respected for being a good person, being consistent, but more importantly, celebrating everyone. Like, I just hit you in the DMs many. It's like, bro, keep going. I'm proud of you, man. Like, we ain't even really know each other. Because I'm just hyped. I'm just hyped, man, seeing y'all do what y'all do. So I think that's what we gotta, in Chicago, man, we show love, man. Like, it's such a beautiful city. It's why we carry ourselves this way. Like, it's not what they show on TV. That's what they want you to believe. But that city is full of love and support and reminders of like, you matter, bro. Like, man, I'm so hyped for you, dog. Look at what we big each other up all the time, And so I don't know, man. I'm just really excited for anybody that's trying something that's difficult, because I know how that feels and I know what's on the other side of that difficulty.
Yeah, 100%, man. And kudos to you too for, you've preserved a very strong sense of individual identity and individualism, across your numerous projects, and even on to now your latest venture. There's is a nice blend of you're part of a collective effort. And it's still your unique kind of footprint. And I think that speaks to the consistency that you were talking about earlier, man. It shows in the work. There's been consistency in the values, the execution, the approach, disposition towards others. And I think that's a tough thing to do. It's a tough blend to hit between, hey, I'm part of this, but it's still undeniably that Mayden touch, so that's real cool, man. And I'm excited for you, man. I'm excited for you in this current chapter, in chapters to come. For me, it's far less about my excitement of your work has less to do with the whatever brand you may be affiliated with at the moment. That to me is subservient to the individual that you are, the way that you approach the fact you already put the 10,000 hours in, the talent's already there. That's cost of entry. Now you're really taking that to greater heights, man, and a lot of multi-dimensional ways. And I think that's very inspiring. And yeah, I'm excited to see what you do, man. I see you. Oh, there you are. Yep. Anyway, man, excited to see what you do, bro. I know there's a lot in the pipeline for you, man. And I was excited to have this conversation with you on Mission Driven too, because again, for me, I wanted to create a vessel and a space where people can, people that I feel have taken their craft to new heights as a result of them having an expansive view. It's not just the arts or activism, it's intersectionality, like you said. And I know now, they don't let Mayden in, that's it's a wrap, man. Like that's it, bro. Is that your direction? And I'll say this. I guess in a year's time, we will be able to look back on this clip because this is pre the storm coming, right? This is the storm. And this is going to be a special clip for me to look back on a year from now when, a lot of the things that you're incubating now. And, I can't even imagine the rooms that you're in at the moment because you're doing shit at the global strategic level, I'm sure. And that must be a fun sandbox to be in and a fun space to be in because now these things here, you have the whole machinery at your disposal to just put it out there into the world. And I'm excited to see how people receive it. It's going to be fun to watch and follow along for sure.
Man, it's, I appreciate that, man. It's overwhelming. The opportunity we have, to really define a generation's perspective of what it means to be expressive and athletic and loved and brilliant and beautiful, like all these things that we had to sneak and tell ourselves, we get to say it openly and write a love letter to culture through product and experience. Like that's the greatest thing. This is the equivalent of, for me personally, I can't speak for Jay, but I think he would feel the same way. This is our love supreme. This is our best effort to say thank you to the culture for everything. And thank you to God for all the blessings we've been given. Like this isn't work. This is praise through product. And we're going to do our best freaking job to provide something that gives kids like us the chance to like see themselves in our work, to see themselves in this industry, not as endorsers, but as owners, as leaders, as people who are profiting from our own culture instead of just selling it off and getting pieces of it.
Right.
And it's really important because we can't be in this position anymore where we're needed but not wanted. We need to be needed and wanted. You want us, you need our insights. Okay, want us in positions of authority. You need us to do this thing to make you look cool. Okay, want us to now also be on the cap table. You can't need us and not want us. That don't work no more. We need both. We need both. We're not asking for the table. We're creating our own. And so that's what this is, man. It's a shift. It's a shift in what it looks like to be a Black creative, a owner, a person of color, just a young person, like all these different things we're up against, and we're built for it, and we're going to go as far as we can go in our lifetime. And we know that the next generation after us is going to take it even further. And it's going to be a perpetual, like Marshawn said, we're going to keep coming over and over. We're going to just keep running down their throat until we own everything that's ours. And that's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Mayden. Awesome, bro. Very good.
I appreciate you, man.
Riveting.